What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Black Professionals Project. My name is Kenton Hipsher, if you do not know by now, but hopefully you do. I am the CEO and founder of the nonprofit, and our mission is to educate and inspire Black and Brown youths by exposing them to the careers of Black and Brown professionals. And today we have with us another young, strappingly dapper Black professional himself with the full beard now, the full thing. He's here, y'all. He's here, and that is Mr. Malcolm Marshall. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Kenton.
I appreciate you and everything you do. I'm going to just lead with that off top, and I'm going to come in and just ask you, the general questions. So free-form conversation. As you guys may know, Malcolm's going to tell us a little bit about his career and hopefully inspire y'all to pursue something similar. So, Malcolm, what is your profession and your industry?
So my profession is I'm a patent engineer and I work for a law firm.
Awesome. Cool. So tell us what exactly a patent engineer is.
Good question. I get that question a lot. So a patent engineer is basically a technical resource for patent attorneys, and we help our clients move along with the USPTO process, basically just to help them get patents, figure out if their invention is patentable, and just different things like that. So it's pretty
Gotcha. Cool. Okay, yeah. I used to work with some tech transfer people at the University of Georgia during grad school, and they kind of do a similar process for the university. So I think I have an idea of what you do, but we'll dig deeper into that here in our conversation. So tell the people, a little bit of background about you. What is your ethnicity and where is your hometown?
So I am a Black American and I am from Indianapolis, just like it is.
That's right, baby. That 317 love. Talk about it. The Naptown. Any school you want to shout out? You want to shout out your high school, your side?
Dub C all day. Warren Central High School. Football team in the entire state. I'm just going to put that out there. Yeah, gotta love Dub C all day.
So there it is, him with the controversial topic. And we won't get into that. We won't have that debate here today, but
not really controversial. It's more of a fact, but
all right, Malcolm, we'll reel you in here. Don't get too crazy on them. But thank you for coming onto the platform. I appreciate you. So, being from the Midwest as well, you know exactly what it's like growing up there, especially in Indianapolis. Which surprisingly, as I've kind of ventured out around the country, I feel like Indianapolis does have a lot of Black and Brown people, which is something you wouldn't necessarily expect. But outside of Indianapolis, not as many. But at least in the city metropolitan area, definitely a lot of Black and Brown people. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, definitely so.
And yeah. we have the Circle City Classic, which is basically just like a Black parade, but it's just...
Yeah, it's kind of like a homecoming almost.
Oh yeah. Definitely one of my favorite points of childhood was like that and Black Expo. It's just it's a whole thing, y'all.
Yeah, I love the Circle City Classic, especially the HBCU bands. That's what I was the most excited about all the time.
It's great. It's like a hidden gem that nobody really knows about outside of Indianapolis.
Right. Yeah, so if you're in Indy, you should check that out once COVID is over.
Yes, once the Rona's over, because the Rona's not playing games out here. It's coming for round 2. It's swiping on everybody. So make sure you stay safe out there, guys. But I digress. We'll move back into your career. So let's tell the people a little bit about a typical day in the life for you as a patent engineer.
All right, so as a patent engineer, it's very different. Like the things that you do is different every single day. So there are some days where I get an invention disclosure from one of our clients, and I analyze that invention, see what's actually patentable with the invention. And then I do prior art searches just to see if there's any other art out there that is similar to that invention. And then I do a patentability analysis to determine if this is worth getting a patent or not, or figure out what is actually patentable with that device. So that's one thing that I do. Another thing that I do is a lot of data analysis, which I really love. So with America, like in America, which is different from many other foreign patent offices, you have to disclose all of the prior art that is out there, especially if you know about it. So basically, you have like a family, and this is probably going way into too much detail, but
no, it's fine.
Yeah, but with the way that we do our patents, we usually have different patent families. Basically, the patents are kind of similar to each other. So we have to make sure that everything that was cited in one is cited in another, just to make sure that we cover our behinds once the patent is actually issued. So that's another thing that I do. And just other day-by-day things like responding to office actions that we get from the USPTO. And they usually have like 102 or 103 rejections, which is basically saying that there is something else out there that's like your invention, or your invention is obvious. So I have to work with patent attorneys and come up with a strategy to determine how to overcome that rejection from the patent office so we can expedite the processing of the patent.
Gotcha. Now, did you need to go to law school to do this? Because typically when you think about patents, you think lawyers. So was that something that was required of you, or did you have to get like a certification or something to do this?
Yeah, good question. So for me, I did not go to law school. I have an undergraduate degree in biomedical engineering with an entrepreneurship minor. So you do not have to actually go to law school to get into law, basically, which is a huge misconception. So specifically with patents, in order for you to sit for the patent bar exam, you usually have to have some sort of STEM background, which is science, technology, engineering, math, something like that. And that was really the only requirement that was needed for my job at Armstrong Teasdale. And so I just got an undergrad in the STEM field, and that's how I'm able to work where I am now.
Okay, gotcha. So that's interesting. Let's talk about that more, about your sort of academic track that's got you to where you are today, because it's not traditional in the sense that you would think. So, inform everybody of, what your education has been like from high school until now. Was there like programs that got you interested in engineering in the first place that you participated in? Was there, specific classes that you were taking or something that really struck a chord with you? Just kind of walk us through your education.
Yeah, great question. So in high school, I loved math. I loved science. So I took all of the Excel math classes, pre-calculus, AP calculus, physics, AP physics, all of those different classes. And I was also a part of various engineering programs in Indianapolis, mainly MEPI, which is Minority Engineering Program of Indianapolis. And in that program, they introduced us to a lot of different engineering principles that we would need to excel either in college or just in engineering in the first place. So that was one program that I did. And then once I graduated high school, I went to the Rose-Hulman Institute of Technology, and I majored in biomedical engineering. And while I was there, I had 2 different internships. Both were kind of in the design realm. One was for neurosurgical devices, and the other one was for orthopedic devices. And then I also, surprisingly, because Shayla made me take the class, I took this class called Intellectual Property, which actually got me interested in the law program. And it's actually how I got connected with Armstrong Teasdale, is from that class, because Armstrong Teasdale actually came to my class to give some sort of presentation. And that's how I kind of got interested in the intellectual property program. However, I already had a job offer for the J.M. Smucker Company as a process engineer. So I had worked in Scottsville, Kentucky for about a year and a half, I would say. And while I was there, I learned a lot about the different manufacturing techniques for just manufacturing in general. And the actual thing that we made was the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches that are those little circle Uncrustables. I'm sure that you guys have heard of those before. And I just did a lot of processing, a lot of analysis. I helped design various tools for the manufacturing. And after I worked there, I had moved to become a patent engineer. And I know that you would probably be wondering, like, you had a biomedical engineering degree and now you're a patent engineer. Like, how are you able to do that? And it's actually really interesting because, in my opinion, most jobs honestly are kind of the same when you really think about it. So with my job as a patent engineer, I basically have to figure out, okay, so what is actually patentable? In order to figure out what is patentable, you have to really analyze the invention, which is something that you normally do for engineering when you're reviewing like failure analysis and different things like that, trying to come up with different ideas. And oh gosh, I'm sorry, I just got on the tangent. I apologize.
No, you're fine.
Okay, so everything is just kind of similar to each other. So I think that's actually how I got into the patent engineer realm, because the thought process was still kind of the same, and Armstrong Teasdale actually realized that. So that's kind of how I came to be where I am now.
Cool. That's awesome. I think it's always great when people, figure out what they really want to do, and it's completely opposite of what they've been trained to do.
Oh, yeah.
There's still a lot of aspects that are transferable, but generally they're not in the same box. Mm-hmm. And I think what that really speaks to is a couple things. The first thing being, what you want and what you're pursuing may change very frequently depending on your experience. So you need to be open to those changes and kind of, go with the not go with the flow, but roll with the punches that life serves you. Because mm-hmm. there's going to be a lot of things that you may enjoy, and there's going to be things that you thought you would enjoy, but you actually don't. And so you have to learn to pivot. And learning to pivot is really key for your success. The other thing that I wanted to emphasize was, really taking the time to figure out what it is you like and acknowledging those things. Because like you said, you had no prior knowledge about intellectual property. Well, maybe you did, but, not as much as you got in that course. And learning from that course is really what sparked your interest and passion for patenting and for, digging deeper into IP. And so with that, there may be a lot of people out here who are thinking, I wonder if I can turn whatever I like into a career. Mm-hmm. And for you, that really was a thought for you probably. Like in this course, you're like, man, I'm a biomedical engineer now, but how do I make this a career? Like, how do I flip this into a career? And so really you've had to adapt and you've had to pivot. And I, want to commend you on doing that, because it takes a lot of courage to, switch roles out of something that I'm sure for you was stable. Like that was a good career and that was something you could build off into a future career. But instead you chose to follow your heart and what you like to do. So, kudos to you for being brave enough to do so.
I appreciate it, Kenny.
Of course. So, we talked a little bit about what you do and how you got there, but let's talk about what is the challenges that you face as a patent engineer? You know, what are a couple obstacles that you've run into in your career thus far?
That's a really good question. So that's a really good question. So kind of to piggyback what you said, like, you know, when you were saying the stability of, you know, your certain, like the degree that I had, like the stability and different things like that. So one of my biggest obstacles is trying to figure out the what's next after college. Because, you know, when you're growing up, you're always told, okay, go to school. So, and then go to high school, get good grades in high school so you can go to a good college, and then go to college so you can get a good job. And then it's like, okay, you have a job. There's not really a set path after you get that job. Unlike school where it's like, okay, you go to the next grade, you go to the next grade. Like with this, it's just like, what do you do? Like the whole world is your oyster. And as we're growing up, we're not really, I'm not going to say we're not really taught, but we're like more conditioned to just follow what's next rather than following what it is that you're actually passionate about, or like it's okay for you to make up your own path. So I'd say that's one huge challenge that I had, was just accepting the fact that it's okay for you to do something different, and it's okay for you to not know what is next. It's fine. That's what life is about. So that was one of the challenges that I had. And yeah, what is another challenge that I had? I think the other challenge is also making sure that you have like a good work-life balance. That is one thing that people usually don't look that much into. It's always, okay, how much money can I make at this job? It's not, okay, is this job going to really stress me out? Is this job going to make me lose sleep at night? Is this job going to affect my personal life, affect my relationships with my family? So that is one thing that I have really been trying to battle with, because there were many times where like my job was my life, and that's kind of how I determined my worth. But that's really not how it is. Like there's so much more to life than just your job. And I think that's one thing I wish people would better understand, is that your job is not your life, and there's more stuff to do outside of that. So those were kind of my biggest struggles. Just trying to figure out life after college.
Talk about it, Malcolm. Come on in here now. Talk about that work-life balance. It's real. It's a real thing. It's something that I struggle with still to this day. You know, like I'm very much so a person of one task, get it done. Like I don't want to take any breaks. I just want to work until that task is done. But in real life, these tasks that you're working on last forever. There is no real completion. It's just like maybe you get a milestone done. So you have to learn to balance really your life and maintain, you know, a healthy mental state and physical state so that you can better do your job. And like you said, it's really important for people considering jobs, considering careers, to think about the whole picture. It's not just these 8 hours a day. That 8 hours a day is a third of your day. Like that's a third of your life, essentially. If you're working 40 hours a week, you know, like that's almost a full third of your life is spent working. The other third is spent sleeping. So that only leaves you really 1/3 of your life to actually live.
Right.
So you have to make sure that what you're doing is something that will either make you happy or set you on a path to get to happiness.
Right.
That's really
no amount of money is worth your mental sanity at all.
I agree with that 1,000%. But one thing I always tell people is money won't bring you happiness, but not having money.
It's important though. Well,
yes, but not having money will definitely not make you happy either.
Yeah, we still need to know what we're worth though. Like that's very important, but it's not the only thing.
Yeah, That's why I really appreciate you saying that, because it really does make a big difference when your financials are correct.
Mm-hmm.
When your financials are right, the rest of your life just seems to go easy. But as long as, when your financials are wrong, things start to get a lot worse than what they used to be.
Right.
So, once again, I wouldn't put all your ducks or put all your eggs in a basket in terms of, focusing only on money, but it helps.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. And if you're in a situation where you definitely just need money, then, it is important to get like whatever job you can take. But yeah, like, dude, because money is important. It's definitely does stress a lot of people out. There was a time when my mom was laid off and we were like really worried about what we were going to do. So like, that's not me saying that money is not important at all. It's definitely important, but just make sure you get like a good balance, or just don't have the job run your life, basically.
It's true.
Like, just know that, like, if you're just taking the job for the money, like, know that you're doing it for the check. Just do well at your job and then go home.
Mm-hmm. Leave it at work, people.
Exactly.
Leave it at work. It's key.
Muy importante.
So we talked about the challenges. We learned a little bit about how you got there, but let's really dig into what makes you happy about this role that you're in now. What gets you up out of bed and motivates you to say, I'm going to go tackle these patents and make sure these people have full security over what they're doing?
That's a good question. So one of the reasons why I love my job is because I'm kind of like looking into the future, kind of like Raven Baxter, like, kind of what's going on, because the inventors are making something unique every day. And when I'm reading an invention, I'm like, oh, wow, that's actually really cool. Oh, wow, that's going to change the world. Oh, wow, this is amazing. How has no one ever thought of this before? This is going to be awesome. So just knowing that I'm doing my part to help somebody out is just really rewarding. And just knowing that I'm helping somebody accomplish their dreams and, their different goals to make the world a better place. I think that's one of the things that I love the most about my job. And another thing that I specifically love about my job is because it's very entrepreneurial. So I basically control the amount of work I get and the different projects I get to work on and the attorneys that I get to work with. Like, it's not just that, which is, another misconception of like, the law field is that it's just in like a box, but you get to work on so many different things and you get to choose what you get to work on. So that's another thing that I really, really love about my job, is just the freedom to kind of do whatever I want to do. So it still kind of gives me I'm still like an entrepreneur, but, with the stability of a job. So I really like that aspect of it.
That's so dope. And I'm so happy that you found this and that it really struck a chord in your heart as far as what you wanted to do. And, I'm just so happy for you, honestly. So with that, I feel like we've already run through the majority of my questions, which is, it's gone by quickly, of course, as it usually always does. But one of the questions that I always ask everyone is, what would be some advice that you would have for the young Malcolm or a young Black or brown youth that wants to follow in your footsteps or maybe pursue a career like yours?
Really good question. So if I were to go back to younger Malcolm, I would say, first of all, don't be so hard on yourself, because I think most of the time we are our worst critics and we don't really understand the value that we actually have. So we focus more on what's wrong with us rather than focusing on like, what are the good things about you? Like, what makes you special? So I think that's one thing that I would really tell myself, is to just calm down, don't be so hard on yourself. Like everything is going to be fine. So that's one thing that I would say. Another thing that I would tell like younger brown students and, people of color and just people in general is to really work on networking. And because that's honestly will get your foot in the door in so many ways. And you never know when you're going to use those connections. So I know when I was looking for my job or just like a job in general, I use my career services so much. Like I would just call on the phone and I'd be like, "Is Don there?" And she would just tell me everything that I needed to know. She would tell me about people that worked at the company. She would give me their email addresses and I would connect with them. And then we would have some sort of conversation. And even like with my job now, if I didn't have that connection in my intellectual property class, I would probably not be working at this firm right now. So that's another important factor, is just to make sure that you have those connections and make sure you're really connecting with people. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, just don't be hard on yourself and have good connections.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's definitely a strong balance between who you know and what you know. Sometimes who you know is more important than what you know. So it's very key that you guys network. I want to ask another personal question before I close here, just because I'm interested, which is, would you, if you could go back and redo it over again, so redo like university, would you have changed majors and went to a school that focused on maybe law or IP or patent instead, or would you still take your technical biomedical degree?
That is a really good question. I would say I wouldn't change anything, because at Rose-Hulman, it's hard to explain unless you're there, but they really do teach you how to think differently and how to really think critically, and forces you to figure out how to manage your time, because it's just like so much at once. And like you were there, so you know about the grind there. But yeah, I wouldn't change a thing, because I love the mindset that I've gained from my teachings. And like, honestly, a lot of my best friends that I still talk to this day, they came from this institution, and I just would not change a thing, because I know I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't have the connections that I have now if I were to go to somewhere else, if I were to have gone somewhere else. So I kind of like where I am now. So I would not change my degree at all.
Gotcha. So with that, thank you for coming onto the platform. We really appreciate you. We appreciate having you in your vulnerability and sharing your truth and your journey with us. It's always a joy talking to you, and it's exciting to see you be successful. And I'm happy that you are happy doing what you do. So now all we got to do is work on getting you out here to the Bay Area.
Yes, I'm for that. Getting all the things. I love it.
Well, at this point, let me look at the camera and talk to the people to let them know to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, so you guys never miss another episode of the #Black Professionals Project, because we do this for you. I do this for you. I'm not getting paid. I get no money. I take 0 donations, and I only want to provide you guys with the information because I feel that information should be free, and that awareness and representation are 2 things that we need in the Black and Brown community. So I am trying to take action to give that to you. So if you have any questions, you like my tie, you say like, "Hey man, your tie is fly," or "Your watch is nice," or you're like, "Yo, Malcolm, where'd you get those glasses from?" Drop us a comment down below. Let us know. If there's a career you want me to look into, I will personally go out to LinkedIn, reach out to these people, and get somebody on here who looks like you, sounds like you, and does the career that you're interested in, so that you ultimately can see that there's a path out there for you to pursue your interests. And with that, I want to thank Mr. Malcolm again, and thank you all for watching. Make sure you tune in. And also, before I forget, check out the resources in the link, or the resources in the description. I mean, there's so much stuff there. There's paid internships, paid summer research programs. There's different engineering opportunities. There's even personality tests, career placement tests, so you can figure out what may be of interest to you or what kind of personality you have, because you know what? We're all in this thing called life trying to figure it out. So I'm here to help. If you have any questions, let me know. Once again, my name is Kenton Hipsher, and we will see you guys next time.